one of the things we have to think about in this is we have to think about the cost. And even though I know this from many years of personal experience, it costs a lot to publish in a print journal. You know, when there's fighting against going with open access, they say things, well, it's just so, expensive. But it used to be if you had a color picture, one, it's $1,000. If you have two, it's $2,000. So very quickly you can see that there's no way you could do these publications like are published now. So actually it's thrifty, but it's still a cost. And if you are a young investigator, you don't have $1,500 except out of your pocket or whatever to pay. So what about the cost? And this is where the government can come in. The government, and they are becoming interested, but we need to make the case, and people who have a big and important voice needs to be speaking to the government and putting in their words what the policies should be, because policy is what makes the government decide, okay, we have to do it. And it has to be, it's not always good policy, but it has to be well presented and backed up by data. So those kinds of bits of information need to be given to the legislators so that they will know that they must. And one of the things that really helped in Alzheimer's research was Ronald Reagan. I mean, when you have a person who is old, and everybody that was sitting there in the Senate and the House at the time, they were more old than they are now. And so they were concerned about Alzheimer's disease. So it made it easy to convince them, which Cacciaturian did, that, we need to be working on this, and you need to be putting some money in it. And so now the voices, and they're here at the table, the voices that need to be heard are the voices that will be heard, the policy makers and the people that influence policy. And that's so important. And here's the reason why. The middle here is the frog. And we can see where scientists are, and none of us are very far. You can see from here, this little drawing, that scientists, their thing is, okay, I'm going to dissect the frog, which of course is an important thing, and you need to dissect it right down to the genes, etc. But it's so important. But one of the things that we have never done, and this is something that needs to be made policy and stop tromping on it, is education. Because look where the politicians are, in the ignorant column. They ignore the frog, except if they're old and they're kind of losing it anyway. And so then they'll think, oh yeah, that Alzheimer's is important. Or if they happen to have a son or a daughter, then of course that makes all the difference. So what we have to do is we have to join together and educate our policy makers and educate our politicians. And every state has a few, if you're like a small state like Arkansas, a few members of the House, and we all have 2 senators. That's only 2 that we need to talk to, and we need to talk to them. We need to educate them about the importance of science. And we have to do that because the future is already coming. I mean, the Big Bang Theory, who would have thought? That's one of the most popular shows on television. Who would have thought? A bunch of physicists. And they're talking in all these words that nobody knows. And everybody's just captivated by it. So we absolutely have to try, as the providers of the news in science, we have to provide it for them. We have to get that data out, and we have to remember everything is about openness. And I am so grateful for the internet. It's the best thing ever. They can't put us back in the box now. So openness is all there is.